Welcome back to Link's Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we can sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things, the stranger things going on. Yeah, you like that Netflix? I'm going to start throwing that in the beginning. Going on in the world of Linux, open source, and all the other fun things we come up with. I am Vince Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryant and Juan Pedro Mateus, and everyone watching us live. Hope you're having a happy Wednesday. For everyone watching us live, thanks for, not doing work right now. You can come say hi live in the chat. Getting a lot of
and if you're doing work right now, stop.
Pedro, some people can multitask poorly.
I can't. I'm not ashamed to admit I'm a one-track kind of guy.
Yes.
Oh, man. So, what's been going on since last week? I do want to make this, I said this on Saturday, is, Pedro, you got to go check that YouTube comment. We were talking about the 2400G running, I think, like Talos or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, he's not done. He's like, I will have you know I've made a blog post addressing the Linux Not Game podcast. I'm like, oh, wow. What?
Oh.
I didn't think I'd check that out.
I haven't looked at it yet because I'm saving it as a little present. I'm like, I can't wait to watch this and read through it. But here's a reminder. If you're in our Discord, if you're a patron or Twitch sub, I put the shows as soon as I'm done with them. And I'm saying this is just like the shows up. It's usually the video version. Not have show notes, timestamps, or anything as soon as it gets rendered. And this goes for our pre super shows and live and uncut series and all that fun stuff in the announcement tab on Discord. So usually on Wednesdays, it's only about 30 or 40 minutes before you would get it regularly. But like on Saturdays, man, there's going to be hours before because I still have to break down all the podcast, all the other video versions, and do the notes and all that fun stuff. There's your little PSA. Also, with a little bit of luck, I'll be getting, convincing someone on eBay that, no, they're Moto MK2 because I have an MK1 I've tested. I want to test an MK2. Probably not going to do an MK3 because those are still astronomically overpriced. Firewire interface. And on top of that, I'm going to be doing a series of this is how you buy a 3-cent Firewire interface off of eBay, plug it into your box, turn it into a sound card in 10 minutes. Don't be scared of the Fire Reapers. And it'll sound better and perform better, lower latency, fewer X runs than any YouTuber special that you're going to go out and pick up. So if it sounds like a thing, stay tuned. That will be coming down the pipe. What's new with you, Jill?
Aw. So that sounds cool, Vin. And I actually had a really great time on Linux Unplugged yesterday. It was a really fun show. And I've really been enjoying playing Slime Rancher on Steam this last week. It's a fun, relaxing game. You collect the slimes and sell their poo. But it's a really fun game. And I got a new penguin sippy cup.
Kiss that penguin. Kiss it good.
Yeah.
That's
there it is.
Pedro.
Sorry. I got distracted, all right?
Yeah, you did. We're going to roll it back to the multitasking.
No, again, one-track mind. Over here, I've been busy with work for the most part. I have been trying to get Box 86 to work on the Pinebook since it comes with ARM64. It comes with an ARM64 OS, and I haven't been able to get the ARMHF versions of the OS to boot. So that's been an interesting experience trying to cross-compile stuff on ARM. It's a learning experience for me. So.
You learn that you don't want to do it after a while.
Yeah.
But it's worth doing the setup the first time you try to compile something on ARM. You're like, oh no.
Yep.
But maybe you don't want to deal with the non-x86 laptop experience. You need something a little more powerful and you want to rock and roll with, I don't know, how about a KDE Slimbook?
You can. And this one, this one looks a lot more interesting than the one that I had a look at all the way back then. The power button has stopped doing its best delete impression, and the price seems to have come down significantly, not to mention it is also a Ryzen powered 14 or 15.6 inch IPS screen with a Ryzen 7 4800H, which, if you're not aware, is an 8-core 16-thread. Kind of insane for a laptop. It's like 8
Pedro,
cores,
I just
16
found something.
thread.
I don't necessarily. Okay, €8.99, right? Okay, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. Now I want a USB attachment to do this. Infrared biometric camera you can use to run sudo commands. Yes, I want that on my desktop.
Yeah, it just
Sudo?
pointed at your face.
No, man.
And it scans your face. It's like, okay, facial recognition's there. Go.
I want something like this. Just give me an idea. I want to set that up to work with a fingerprint scanner. So I'm like,
you can do it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I know it's doable. I just want to do it. Do it with like. See if
I know,
can
because a couple of the laptops I have fingerprint sensors. So it's like, oh, enter your pseudo password. It's like, oh, there we go.
and set it up to use like, I don't know, my pinky toe to make sure.
But yeah, it's the new Slimbook. It's the 3rd gen, as they're calling it, and you can customize it. There's a couple of options, but well, this isn't the only laptop that we have to talk about, and there was another laptop that Jill found that also uses the Ryzen 7 4800H, which is the Tuxedo. The Tuxedo Pulse Ryzen, Emerald Blue.
16
Thank you for the
threads.
follow.
Don't you love living in 2020 where you see that and you're like, oh,
So nice.
On a sub $1,000 laptop, yeah, that's kind of crazy. You wouldn't yet actually given Intel something to worry about. So, yeah, no, the Tuxedo one is, well, it's more than a little too similar to the KDE Slimbook, because it's the exact same laptop. Except this one is black and the other one is silver. That's it. That is the difference. And yeah, they are the exact same. I'm assuming Clevo. It's either Clevo or the other one.
HDMI port on it.
It does.
Yeah,
and
which is awesome.
Type-C connector that can't be Thunderbolt because Intel would sue them if it was. And yeah.
Wait a minute. It's got one of those pop-out full-size Ethernet noodle receptacles that you will break immediately.
Which actually, some of the Dells that we have at work have those, and thus far, they haven't broken. And yeah, no, as far as like I/O goes, for a very thin laptop, it's amazing. And again, 8 cores, 16 threads. But yeah, no, so since both the KDE Slimbook and the Tuxedo Pulse are the same, I decided, you know what, let's spec out one of each. And there'll be a link in the show notes for the 2 configurations that I got. With the 1080p screen, 16 gigs of RAM, and the 4800H and 500 gig NVMe SSDs. It was the Tuxedo was €1086 and the KDE Slimbook was €1059. So yeah, in my opinion, given the past reviews of both the KDE Slimbooks and the Tuxedos, Tuxedo still wins because they actually let me specify, oh, you can have 2x8 sticks instead of a single by 16. And you can select the Portuguese keyboard specifically rather than just select this and then tell us in the comments and we might think about it. So yeah, I'd pay the extra €30 if I was looking to spend €1,000. I'd gladly spend the extra 30 to make sure that I got the 2x8s and the Portuguese keyboard. Very much so.
Right on, right on. What do we have?
Oh, very
next?
cool.
Oh,
yeah. So we have Chrome OS. Let's just say an alternative to Chrome OS called Ubuntu Web. And its Ubuntu Web is going to use Firefox instead of Chrome. Now, I think this is actually a really good idea. It would be nice to have a competitor to Chrome OS with the Firefox. But it is, you can just use any Linux distro, including Ubuntu, and turn Firefox into a web kiosk. That's actually easy to do. But it is a good idea to have one that's already pre-compiled with everything you would need to surf the web with Firefox on Ubuntu for a lighter laptop, and have that competitor to Chrome OS. So I think it could be really, really promising for the future. We need a competitor to Google right now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, before you get too terribly excited, head over to our open source. And you pointed out this kid, and that's not shame, he's like a teenager. Spawn 2 distros already, and they're hosted on Mediafire and Mega. There's some issues, but he's undoubtedly talented. And so, hey, man, maybe he'll stick with us. That's kind of like the big takeaway from this. This is a good idea. I would like to see something like that. The Chromium version of Chrome OS, or maybe,
Chrome OS, yeah.
What about Edge OS? We get a Microsoft version.
That's just Chrome OS. Come on.
Hey, man. Yeah. This one says Edge on it. It's
Chromium.
But, the Ubuntu-based Firefox OS, the actual Firefox OS kind of flopped. Is this a good idea?
Yeah, because it is Ubuntu-based, which everyone is using, and people are already installing Ubuntu on their Chromebooks. So why not?
I'm going to have to wait and see.
Yes.
It definitely falls under neat, but I mean, I could say the same thing about Chrome OS. I mean, it's neat and for like schools and stuff like that. I'm down with it for practical usage. For me, I'm like, it's got too many features. Give me a tablet. So,
but yeah, it's a laptop, mostly mobile, low power device oriented OS, which gives you access to all of the Android apps, which is a big selling point. Let's be honest.
I don't know, man. It definitely looks like Apple took a look at Chrome OS and like, hold my sake.
iPad OS.
We're going to have iPads on iBooks, and that's the iFuture. But alternatives, always awesome. Good to see it. All right, you perpetual hipster. What do you got?
Oh, this is really cool. This is Min. This is a new light, fast, and secure web browser for Linux. And it's actually created with Electron. And despite that, it still runs very fast.
A browser in Electron. The joke has come full circle.
Well, we're done. We're out.
Yeah. But it was created with CSS and JavaScript. And I've been really liking the workflow of this, the workflow of Min. What's really neat is when you create a tab to do a search, you click the tab bar at the top and you can do a search, and you can add bookmarks by doing bang add bookmark. It's got bookmarks. It's got, oh gosh, lots of really neat controls for also making a custom task manager where you can add different tabs to tasks. In fact, I'm doing that right now for the show. I've got the web pages that we're looking at today in my tasks, and I actually created that about a day ago, so I can easily access them for the show. And it's just got a lot of really neat features that you're not used to in web browsers, but once you get used to the workflow, it's really zippy and fast. And I've been very impressed with it for a web browser, more for reading than, you can do YouTube on it as well, but it's more for reading articles and whatnot. So it's a nice and slim and very, very fast, and I recommend it.
The GitHub, it's just mini browser if you want to go pull that up, / building npm. Oh, yeah.
You can get it, download the deb.
Okay, that's done. Pedro, are you excited about multiple browser options outside of Firefox and Chrome and Chromium and Chrome Beta and
Vivaldi and Opera and Epiphany and Midori and
yeah, there's
Pale
a lot of
Moon
options.
and Brave and Dolphin.
Yeah.
Conqueror.
Conqueror.
Yeah,
Conqueror.
yeah, you can use
that's one
Conqueror.
of my favorites. But this one is faster. It's actually faster at loading those pages, especially because
an
it gets rid of.
Electron-based browser.
Yeah,
This is kind of the thing where I'm at for.
but it's very efficient. It's a Chromium-based
It's Electron,
browser.
and we're still using Chromium. Are you impressed?
Yes.
It's like, how many levels deep do you need to go to find a Chromium?
Only the owl knows, man. Only the owl knows. That's neat. I gotta be honest. It's probably been 10 years since I've worried about browser performance because we live in a world now where you have octa-core laptops that
Yeah.
are affordable.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I'm
So
not saying
true.
that's necessarily a good thing. Because, oh no, we'll just throw more resources at it. High modern development. But it's good to see something like this. It's a little, I'd have to try before I buy it because Electron is the new Flash.
Well, being able to type commands, a lot of users who love to use console, this is great for them. So
Getting the type of people who like to do everything on a console, like, here, install Electron. No.
No.
but doing, Bing add to task, Bing add bookmarks. It's really it reminds me a little bit of the Netscape days. So I liked it. I'm liking it.
The rest of us who lived through the Netscape days are like, yeah, that's nice. Have fun.
Yeah, no, I'm totally okay with the current state of browsers, mostly because I didn't live through the Netscape days, but I had to learn what a Firefox was when Firefox was not as good as it is right now, so.
Yes.
Firefox was a business back in the day, man. And, they're definitely making like tracks to get back there. I mean, yeah. So.
Just don't go back there with the really choppy performance, please.
Yeah.
Competition is good. Speaking of competition, PeerTube has a little bit of news. We're talking about version 2.3. It is out. It's got a couple of things. I was just scrolling through this. You don't know about PeerTube? It's like federated YouTube, right? Is that a fair description? I think that's a fair enough description for it.
Yes.
Couple of things in this. The two big ones that I took away, because I think they're going to be used in conjunction with one another. There's a new report feature, and inside of that is intellectual property violations.
Someone is breathing down their neck.
I am just saying, when PeerTube was first rolling out, we didn't set up our own instance. We were using a PeerTube instance, and I did my best to put everything on PeerTube up until I hit a size limitation. I'm like, hey, you've used up all your storage, to which I had to go, okay, sorry. I love the project. I think it's a fantastic idea, so I always want to give it a plug because YouTube's got everything locked down. Tools like this might help adoption, especially because what I'm sure it's not getting better, but it was mostly just pirated content being slung out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pirated and adult content.
Yes.
And I'm going to say,
and pirated adult content.
here's the thing. It makes it very difficult for discovery when you're like, hey, do you want to see our show? Lost in a sea of just video dump. So
Yeah. That is the sad thing. There are lots of Linux videos on there, which is really good. And I'm really happy that we're having continued support of PeerTube at such a fast pace. They're really innovating it, and I'm looking forward to the live option in the future they have been talking about. So that's definitely a thing. Once they go have that live option, I think it's going to be a big game changer, especially to have an open source live option other than Twitch and YouTube. So really cool.
And two things that there's a PeerTube plugin, auto mute, so you can mute people, kind of like on Twitter, where you, trust me, mute people, don't block them. They find out if they're blocked. And also one for just auto blocking videos from creators and content. You're like, I don't want to see any of that. Yep. So that could help filter out, just some of the static and noise that's being published. So I want to say good on that. Yeah, Pedro, what are your thoughts? You're awfully silent, you YouTube-loving monster.
Admittedly, I spend a lot of time during the day on YouTube. Not that I'm necessarily paying attention, because I'm usually, either doing work or playing a game, so it's just the background noise. But yeah, the idea of literally anything that could provide an alternative to YouTube is good. It's great. It's amazing. I'm not entirely sure PeerTube is quite there yet, but maybe in the future?
Possibly. What do we have up next? Oh, yeah.
The Thimbleweed developer.
This is what
Thimbleweed
Ben put in.
man. This definitely happened. He's had a chain of posts. This comes from r_Linux_gaming. And he was on a Mac. And this is just something that I want everyone to keep track of, maybe help the guy along. Because he's got a lot of blog posts. He was running on just a Mac. Now he's picked up a Dell XPS 13 running Ubuntu Budgie for now. And he's just cutting through it, man, because it finally clicked. It finally clicked. And his brainmates, he's like, Apple's not going to be supporting desktop development very long. And Apple's like, no, we're not. Because when you think about it, like up until very recently, someone's like, well, I need something I can develop for Mac OS, Windows, what should I buy? And it's like, I hate the price of the things, but, get a MacBook Pro. It's going to do, that's not going to be the case with non-x86 parts. It's like, yeah, maybe I should be moving over. So, he's talking about his first Linux laptop, his Linux first post, issues that he's run into with password managers and stuff like that. It's a fun read, and I'm paying very close attention to it because a lot of developers are MacBook devs. And because that makes the most sense. It's portable. They can do both operating systems. They can even fire up a Linux VM every now and then. I'm curious to see if we're going to see more people switching to something. Are they going to go to Linux or because, there's a very good thing that's pointed out. It's like, what about Windows? It's like, Windows isn't a real operating system. Valid point. Touche. So I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting.
Yeah. Jill?
Yeah, so
Paige like, yeah, that's all I got.
I was waiting. so yeah,
I'll do it
I
after
think,
Jill.
Okay. So after the Grumpy Gamer, once he finds all the Linux alternatives to the productivity apps he's used to on the Mac, he won't be grumpy anymore. That's just a learning curve of a new new Linux user. Once they find the alternatives to what they need.
Yeah.
Once you get fully locked in and you have to deal with people who sometimes treat an operating system like a religion, you ascend in grumpiness. You've doubled down on it. You're like, okay, this is the game I must play. But I do like he's pointing out that he's looking forward to being able to do everything from Linux. Right?
Correct. Yeah. Using the game engine and, creating.
Which is why I would very much like the Arch crowd to keep it to themselves on this one, please.
Nope, you gotta run Arch.
He's trying to do actual work. He doesn't have time to play with your favorite toy. Okay? Okay.
I'm angry at you. You don't know what you're talking about, Matt Reed.
Just a little request from me.
I just got to be honest, man. Most of the people in the comments are being, hey, man, I love it. Plug what you use, 100% for that. But you got to understand there's a different needs for development, production, stuff like that. You don't want to run the latest and greatest, man. Sometimes you want to run the most stablest. And, if he's going to be running like 2004, once just 1804. But that's where he wants to be. And I'm reading through the comments. I've been keeping an eye on this since earlier this week. Everybody's being cool, man. They're like, hey, this is what I'm looking for QT development and stuff like that. And just walking them through it, which that's what the community should do. That's the right way to do it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I just want to give everyone battery safe. Battery safe. A Python
like
daemon.
a Sultan battery? Oh, the lithium-ion kind. Never mind.
When you should plug and unplug your computer. You know, the need for this project was born out of my carelessness for letting my previous MacBook charge for hours until my battery stopped holding charge, and I had to move to a new machine. Well, okay. I started reading this, man. I did. I started reading this, and you're dealing with lithium-ion. So, I'm going to be honest, that sounds like maybe you had a bad charger in your Mac. Something was scrambled up a little bit. Because, you know, any half-designed charge circuit is going to be able to handle that, man. It should, 100%. Now, with your charger, if the battery's not in use, it's going to flip over to a trickle charge. It's not going to be pumping a lot of voltage into your battery. It's barely going to be topping it up. And modern stuff is just going to run it directly from the mains if it's been plugged in. So, I mean, these are not, when I say modern, I'm saying something made in the last 10 years, man. And this is going to notify you if it's like, hey, it's full, unplug it. Okay, that's the thing. Then if you plug it back in, you're starting a new charge cycle, a wear cycle on lithium ion. And you only get so many of those before you start losing cells. And you're like, well, how come? Hey, look, I'm at 10%. You have that cliff that you'll end up with. So I just wanted to, the reason I'm bringing this up, man, is don't use something like this. Okay, you got a modern piece of equipment, you can leave it plugged in. It's not going to hurt it unless it blows up, explodes, jumps off your desk, kicks down your back door, and runs screeching into the night. Then you can blame me. But outside of that, man, fine.
Also, why were you keeping an emu as a pet?
Because it was delicious.
Yeah. So I can see this really useful for, well, if you collect older vintage laptops like I do with the cadmium batteries, it would be helpful to have those notifications.
Yes.
Especially because the older batteries, you know, back in the day, you didn't want to keep them plugged in because it would ruin the battery. So
yeah, with the cadmium batteries, you absolutely wanted to do like the full cycle. You charge it till it was at 100%, then you unplug it, let it drain until it's almost empty, then plug it in. And do it like that, because if you didn't do it like that, they would lose their ability to retain any kind of charge. We live in the lithium-ion world now. That, if you're actively using it, yeah, keep it plugged in. If you're not actively using it and you're not going to need that battery for any time soon, between like 60% and 80% charge and put it away. I say.
So what are your charging recommendations for NIMH and Zinc Air?
When they run out. I don't know. The nickel batteries and the zinc batteries, I don't really, I mean, I suppose the batteries in the Steam controller.
Your Amazon rechargeable batteries are in IMH.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Everyone thinks when they think rechargeables, fortunately, I don't think kids do these days, but you're thinking of nickel cadmium, which those things were junk. Because you could recharge them, but they would hold a charge about as long as the smell stays in a room. But yeah, modern rechargeable batteries are brilliant, hundreds of charge cycles, and then of course lithium ion. That's still a dark art. You really don't even know how much charge it really has in it. There's a charging circuit because of that, and don't live dangerously. Don't wear it down unnecessarily, especially considering most modern laptops. What do you do with a battery when it's dead? Apple laughs at you, takes it up back, blows it up, gives you a new one. That's not just an Apple thing. Get ready to peel something out that's glued in.
Because that cell's going to peel itself out. It's just going to swell up and go.
I did that with my Nexus 10, man. The last battery
I changed.
Still
in the dryer bin?
My Nexus 10 was never in the dryer or oven.
The battery.
Not the battery. I'm more curious as to why you thought I have a tablet in the oven and or dryer.
I meant the battery. You had one you thought was going to explode. So for a long time you had it. It was either in the dryer or the oven. I couldn't remember where. There's
places I could go with this, but I'm going to choose not to. I will take this moment to mention Linux Gamecast. We're on Patreon. That's how we support the show. We don't do ads. We don't bombard you with crap. You might not like what we say sometimes, but at least you know we're honest. We got a bunch of the levels. We got Cherling, Death Note, Sea Monsters. 6 more? Boop. Yep. Chicago kicks ours. Executive producers, and we have one spot for executive producers and advisor level. Each of those comes with a handy, dandy, nifty, mostly non-flammable Discord reward and some other things. You know, you get a lot for your money, man. We're kind of like that. You get some early access and stuff. You get a custom podcast we have just for our patrons. That's a production meeting each and every week. But thank you, each and every one of you who've kicked in. We get a new Death Note.
Yeah, Romeo Sid Vicious is back as one of our patrons. It's awesome.
Right on.
He actually kicked in during the show. It's like,
yeah,
very good.
That's sincerely brilliant, man. That's how we do what we do. This is most definitely not brought to you by beef jerky. Action jerky.
Not at the time, no. Let's just say I still have a few packets left.
Hey, man, maybe Microsoft. Microsoft call me. I'll just butcher whatever product it is. I mean, I'll take your money, is what I'm saying. We can use that for hosting and buying some new stuff. But yeah, that'd be fun. This thing's horrible. Does Microsoft have any? Send me a game controller.
Oh, I want one of the elite ones.
Yeah, with the adjust so you have all the different sizes of nubbins.
Yes.
I don't want to test this because I know I'll eventually walk into someone's house with this $200 controller and I will judge them differently. Really? I like to think I'm better than that. I just don't ever want to have to test it. So I'm trying to be a good person. Let's get into a slice of pie. A little bit we like to cover each and every week of tiny things powered by
high contrast pie.
Yeah, very.
And first up, it's Wimpy's new little side project. He's been doing a lot of stuff with the Raspberry Pi. If you haven't been catching his live streams on YouTube, he's been doing a lot of stuff with the Raspberry Pi, and the latest thing is to create a retro remix version of Ubuntu that you can use to play your retro games. You get
Frostbites. Okay. You have the mental image of the returned video Frostbites of the article I was just reading?
Yes.
Okay. I enabled JavaScript.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No
What's
chill.
wrong with your face? I'm in website.
Yeah.
Or the article. I'm just like, what are you here for?
Clearly not to read the article because you're not letting me.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a video of the live stream that Wimpy did setting up the Ubuntu Retro Remix. And you get all of the emulators, like the old retro emulators that work on the Raspberry Pi, out of the box. And it's properly set up so that everything works as quickly as possible. Not everything will work out of the box, obviously.
Okay,
like the older stuff.
Pedro, I want you to have some fun because this is like he's typing in Launchpad into the Google browser.
Mm-hmm. Somebody
leave a comment on the video and be like, yo, you might want to go double check your browser history there. Just
I just noticed. Yes.
No, there's nothing there.
It's just to get people. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Was there something there?
Just leave that. just so you can get like, oh, thanks, Satan. I really needed that heart attack. That would be me. Don't do it. I'm joking.
Oh. Well, Wimpy is always trying new things, and he learns a lot along the way, and this brings so much progress to Ubuntu, and that's what makes Martin Rimpress the perfect Ubuntu desktop lead. He's always trying new things and very progressive and trying remixes of Ubuntu and doing things with it and making awesome videos. And I heard he just got controller support and hardware acceleration working on his retro remix. So, very cool.
This next thing I have is the name alone makes you like, hey, okay, we can be friends. It's called Kneecap Open Motion. Doesn't that sound fun? That sounds like something you'd want to invite over for dinner.
Yes.
It sounds like something you would want to invite over for dinner, as long as you didn't owe it money. Yeah.
Yes, because are we talking like melee weapons or
no, baby?
Oh no, it's a mocap thing.
I'm talking about open source
Yes.
Arduino. Motion capture suit tutorial. They're going to walk you through it, all the bits you need. It's completely open source. There's a couple of nodes, This is basically a script they've put together that works in conjunction with Blender, but you must install like PySerial to get everything working. They still need to fill in some big honking gaps on their GitHub page. But, that's just as far as like getting it built and how it works. But man, that's neat. Is it not? That's something that you can stick together and do a homebrew mocap. That is, listen, man, you're not dealing with like 100 points on one body, but come on, that'll get the job done if you want to make something. But there it is on GitHub. Again, all of this is, there's your Blender. They just need to fill some stuff in. But yeah, I wanted to give a little mention because I was like, that is neat.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
a really
neat,
good
and
find.
how smooth it is. Because you could tell that it wasn't picking up on all of the motions, but the transition from the motions that it does pick up, like from one to the other, it's very smooth. That's very nice.
Man, I will finally be able to mocap a bowl of spaghetti.
Noodles.
Well, I'm looking forward to showing this as a low-cost way of doing this for my students. Back in the day, we used to use the Microsoft Kinect and set up capture suits with that. So this is even easier and cheaper, and it looks better.
Yep.
Good job.
Pretty neat. What is this 4K 60 camera solution? All right. You got my attention.
Yeah. So this is called the Luxonis Depth AI. That was what it was originally called. And last year in August on LWW 182, we talked about this new computer vision carrier board for the Raspberry Pi. And now they have a mini one called Mega AI, which is really awesome. And like Ven was saying, it's 4K, 60 frames per second camera solution for computer vision. And it's powered by Intel's Myriad X chip. And it combines depth perception, object detection, and object tracking using hardware and software. And what's really cool is that it's on Crowd Supply now and Kickstarter. So
now, I'm going to say set expectations accordingly. It's a 12 megapixel sensor. So
yeah. It's low, but
going
that's
to be some
that's,
crunchy 4K lab.
It does have hardware encoding with a 265 at 30 and JPEG encoding. So
yeah. But that's all it needs for doing, like infrared detection and whatnot for collision detection. So
well, I'm thinking more about the object tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it's like, okay, so why is it $200 though? And then Jill is like, oh, it's got the Intel chip. That's why.
Yeah,
okay.
the Myriad. And so the Myriad X chip, helps. It's a hardware accelerated solution for the Raspberry Pi for doing computer vision. So that's where it makes this stand out. So because the Raspberry Pi on its own isn't quite powerful enough to do it as efficiently.
And it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's definitely better than the Intel Nook AI kit, which is going to run you close to 900 watts sticky US caches. Because this thing's clocking in during the campaign. You're looking at $169. You're talking like 6 watts versus 50 watts, 12 megapixels versus 1 for the Nook, 4K UHD, let's say that, versus 720p. Yeah. I mean, if this does everything it says on the tin, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, amazing. Just an awesome
And
project.
the campaign was successful, so yeah, it will be coming.
Yes, are there anything Nook related is Intel pricing, man? How?
Yep.
Yeah, I want Nook.
It was hard to justify before. What are you doing now?
It's more of a curiosity. It's a look. Listen, man, Intel's going to become a lifestyle brand. you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Intel is going to become the Apple. Okay, right.
Yeah. It's going to be a little I, Intel. If you want to tell us about your projects, your thoughts, your hints, your allegations, man, maybe just scream in our direction, send us some verbal hugs by way of your keyboard. How can you go about doing that?
You can press that keyboard into our mailbox or slip it under our feet as we're walking down the street. But the best way to actually get in touch with us is to use that keyboard to type linuxgamecast.com into the address bar of your web browser.
I don't like the way
And
that
then-
looks. And,
Yeah.
It's not
I
NVIDIA,
needs to
you
be
can't do that.
capitalized,
oh, no. Hang on.
not the N. In tall or okay, there you go.
Yeah, now it's
Intel, all
NVIDIA.
caps.
But yeah, just hit the contact button and fill out the form. LWDW is this very show that you probably should send your feedback to, or you may otherwise unwittingly send some hate mail for that other show.
Send it there. If you're going to be sending links, press release, or something like that, and you're like, yo, I'd like to come talk about a project that I'm working on, send that to Show at Linux. The instructions are on the page.
Yeah, right at the top of the page.
No. It's good because some people lack reading comprehension, but they make up for it in persistence because maybe once a month I'll go check the service that we have that filters this, that puts everything in packages, and I'll see somebody just hammering. I was like, you spent 10 solid minutes trying to get that through, didn't you? True story. So, Chips, man. Chips has written us.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read this. This is for Pedro. So in LWW 232, Pedro regales us with his dream of a phone compute stick convergence. I've heard some speculation that this would be the ultimate eventual form of the ARM-based Mac under development. Does this mean Pedro dreams of Macs? ? And would you switch, Pedro? ? That's funny, Chibsy. But good question.
No. Also, Robot Pedro does not dream of electric Macs. No, I want that, but I want that for x86-64 because that's where all my games are. And yeah, I want that mythical x86-64 phone that you take with you during the day, and it's got like 4 teeny tiny cores, ARM style, for battery savings. And then you come home, you plug it into the dock, and the 8 big cores with SMT and everything else come online, and the phone basically becomes just the processor and RAM. And you might be going, wait a second, processor and RAM, what about the storage? Because like eMMC is the slowest thing on the planet right now, and it is the bottleneck on most phones. The dock would be connected to an external enclosure that would include a GPU and an NVMe drive. That's the way I'm seeing it. I'm sure someone will find a way to include an NVMe drive on a phone at some point. We're not there yet. And x86-64 on this particular form factor is not there yet. But I would very much like that to be the case. In the not too distant future, please.
Eventually,
looking forward to that
not
convergence.
Too far from now is we're going to be living in a world with not 1 but 3 competing global satellite internet providers. What makes more sense to me is, especially what Microsoft's definitely working on, is streaming. Not your game, but your desktop. So then all of a sudden your power requirements for your mobile device become nothing. Can you decode a X265 or X26, whatever it is, screen, AV1 or AV3, whatever it becomes? Because indoors and outdoors, I mean, you're not going to be needing to carry the hardware with you. This is another argument against convergence. By the time the amount of engineering to make a device like that, like you're just going to be streaming a desktop because we're almost at the point with low-cost consumer hardware. You can stream a very good-looking video game.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty is compared to streaming a desktop.
Where it's mostly static imagery, yes.
Yeah, a web browser. Okay. Your email. Your TikTok. Okay, I think I can swing that.
Yeah.
So then you just have a big block of battery that doesn't use any power. That how often do you charge that? Every other week or so.
Well, screencasting
and as long
is a
as
thing
space internet
already. So
space internet. I don't know, man. Those are my thoughts, but we'd most definitely like to hear yours. That's gonna do it. I think we'll roll some credits. We're running a little bit long, but that's okay. That's okay when you're having fun.
It was a big show.
Yes.
That's the wrong song.
Yay!
You can't cheer, Jill. Not for the wrong song.
Yep, there we go.
It's
There's
Saturday.
There's our LWWs.
How dare you?
Yay! Oh, and thank you to Romeo Sid Vicious once again. You are our new Death Notes in Discord.
So the executive producer, goodness.
Yes. And the
Look at all
producers,
those.
and you all are crazy. I keep saying it. No one believes me. Y'all are insane. But if you weren't, I wouldn't like you as much.
Jim's plugs.
Oh
Yay,
yeah,
PowerShell on
Linux. And
Yay.
library. Someone's library.
Yes.
You will obey the library. Library.
Library.
Liberal library.
Library.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.